Yeah, if you're wandering into new rooms, make sure you check the ceiling for the ground.
Yeah, about that.
It's like the easiest way to die.
Yeah,
Did you
yeah.
just get grabbed?
I remember seeing the trailer for Deep Rock Galactic a few years ago. It was part of a larger group of trailers during the Microsoft E3 press conference, and I remember being somewhat curious about it, but not enough to jump into the preview program on Xbox at the time. Once I make a call like that, I don't generally look at the game again unless something important happens to put the game back on my radar. That, for me, came a week or so ago in the form of most of my friends buying the game on Steam and putting a ton of hours into it. I waited for a bit as I wanted to play Doom Eternal and Panzer Dragoon Remake first, but I eventually bought the game and jumped right into it. Deep Rock Galactic comes to us from Danish developer Ghost Ship Games, and it takes place in the far future and in the depths of space. You play as a dwarven miner who has been hired by the titular company, Deep Rock Galactic, to mine various materials on distant planets. The job sounds pretty easy until at one point in each mission, you go from innocently doing your job to this. Yes, inevitably, you drilling all over the place ends up upsetting the local wildlife, which just happens to be a bunch of giant killer space bugs. These can range from your little ankle biter bugs, which just burst on impact, normal grunt bugs with huge teeth, flying bugs who grab you occasionally, massive armored bugs, bugs that explode, and even the barnacles from Half-Life are there on vacation, I guess. These bugs will either show up randomly throughout the level, attack in droves in form of mini-events called swarms, or will just dogpile on you when it's time to leave. How you deal with the bugs depends on which class you pick, and Deep Rock Galactic gives you 4 options: Gunner, Driller, Scout, and Engineer. Here's a quick rundown of each class from the most amount of time spent to the least. The game started me on the Gunner class, and I decided to stick with it for the most part. The Gunner is, as the name implies, the class with the best guns as he wields a minigun and later an autocannon. Between the two, I prefer the minigun as I would rather be focused on watching the gun's temperature while not having an ammo clip. The gunner's job, generally, is to mow down as many bugs as possible to keep them from interrupting your team, so having to switch magazines on the autocannon at a crucial moment can be a death sentence. The gunner also has access to a droppable shield, grenades, and a zipline gun that is incredibly useful for the entire team. You can use ziplines to navigate the uneven terrain and to get yourself off the ground in more intense swarm encounters. I put a decent amount of time into the driller class as well, which, as the name implies, is focused on drilling holes through the terrain to help teammates get around the level quicker. Their main weapon is a very close second to the minigun as my favorite, which is a
Flamethrower! Bet kids love this one.
Eventually, you can also upgrade to a cryo gun, but I didn't get far enough with the driller to use it myself. Once I've leveled up my gunner enough to promote the class, which is this game's version of prestiging, I'll definitely be working more on the driller as I really enjoy the class, maybe even more than the gunner. The last two classes, Scout and Engineer, I used a total of once and never respectively. Scout is given a basic assault rifle and has a grappling hook that allows him to easily reach normally out of reach spots. I wasn't necessarily feeling the class myself after a mission, but that could change with time. Engineer is focused on building turrets, which help thin the hordes, and has a very useful platform gun, which creates platforms, which, in conjunction with the Scout's grappling hook or the gunner's zipline, can create an effective strategy to get those minerals that are stuck up really high or just out of reach. As you gather these materials for your mission, you deposit them in this robot collector called a mule that the miners lovingly refer to as Molly. When you've completed the objective, you hit a big red button on Molly to call a drop pod in to get everyone out. The drop pod will usually land close enough for everyone to reach it in the 4-ish minute time frame that you're given, but far enough to be stressful. This is due to a central part of this game and how it delivers its content: procedural generation. You're not heading off to handcrafted caves whenever you go out on a mission. Each cave is crafted via procedural generation, which ensures a different experience every time. On one hand, this is great as it drastically increases replay value for the game. You don't end up with what I would refer to as Destiny syndrome, where you end up running through the exact same caverns and corridors over and over again to the point where you could navigate the area in your sleep. This is a good thing, but with procedural generation, there is always a negative involved. Whether it be that the cave ends up being an unintelligible labyrinth or essential materials being placed at opposite ends of the map and in high places as well, procedural generation can lead to a rather inconsistent experience. It's not as glaring as it can be in other games, but I notice small annoyances here and there that can definitely be attributed to the use of this development technique. For example, there is a type of mission where the dwarves forego the use of Molly in favor of a giant drilling platform in one of the main, usually central areas of the stage. Due to the game generating the terrain in this way, collision detection can be wonky as I frequently found myself taking damage from enemies that were underneath the drilling platform. Again, this isn't a deal breaker or anything, but you should know what potential issues that you may face if you play a game that uses procedural generation. At At the end of each mission, you're granted a sum of golden materials which can be used to upgrade your gear or purchase new cosmetics for your dwarf. They seem to, appropriately enough, have focused extensively on the customization of your beard, which can lead to some pretty mighty looking masterpieces of facial hair. There is also a perk system which allows you to upgrade your character with various abilities, like having the enemy take damage when they damage you, jump jet boots, and my personal favorite called See You in Hell, which emits a giant electrical pulse around you to kill off any surrounding enemies when you're down. Speaking from experience, this is incredibly satisfying and it makes it much easier for your teammates to revive you. One of the things that I really enjoy is the social space called the Space Rig that you spend your time on in between missions. Alongside providing the hubs for upgrading your gear and changing out cosmetics, it also provides this cool little hangout area complete with a bar, jukebox, and this weird little basketball thing where you shoot barrels into a hoop-looking incinerator. You even get Steam achievements for throwing a beer mug or your entire body through the incinerator. The bar offers a bunch of different beers, and some of them even give you a boost in missions, like pots of gold giving you more gold, just for example. Just be wary, drink too many and your character will get drunk, which will necessitate a special beer to sober you up. Being drunk does not go away when you load into a mission if you have not sobered up first. Another thing that I really enjoy about this game is just the general atmosphere, pun kind of intended, and the themes of the game. This game, like quite a few others in this day and age, has a somewhat satirical take on capitalism gone wrong. It's shown to you whenever you load into the game that you have a bed on this space rig, so it's kind of assumed that this is where you would live when not on a mission. Even though it's supposed to be a living space, it is in no way private, as your dispatcher will occasionally yell at you for dancing at the bar or playing barrel basketball instead of working. Your life is very much policed while on the space rig to maximize the amount of time that you work, and this is seen more in the missions as well. One of the types of missions in this game is to find a bunch of broken mini-mollies that were left behind by another group of miners that tragically lost their lives. The dispatcher doesn't put it that way though, as he requests that you try not to screw it up like the last crew did before setting off. After you're done fixing the mini-mollies, you then have to fix the broken drop pod that the previous team tried to escape on. And even after all of that, the dispatcher still threatens to leave you behind if you take too long to get on. This extends to regular conversations during missions too, where the miners will regularly remark that their equipment is old and needed to be replaced a long time ago. The company, Deep Rock Galactic, only seems to care about its profits and will leave you to die at the hands of giant space bugs without a second of hesitation. Granted, you can easily ignore all of this and just have fun mining and shooting bugs, but it's definitely there. I told my friends that I thought this game is basically the Starship Troopers of Orzammar, and I mean that on both a gameplay and thematic front. The game also offers some live service elements in the form of progression-based assignments and late-game content. While you are leveling up your characters, you are given access to the assignment board, which has you completing specific missions, which you can either grab your friends to help you with, or you can check the server browser, which will display other groups playing the exact same mission. As a side note, this assignment board system may need some tweaks for new players, as I'm currently finding myself in this weird limbo where I've completed the few assignments that I have access to, but I haven't leveled up my general level enough to get the next assignment. I could switch classes and complete their assignments as well, but I have my reasons for sticking to Gunner. One of them being that my friends want to start doing deep dives. Once one of your characters hits level 25, you will also gain access to deep dives, which I did not get a chance to check out yet, but appear to be the more raid-like missions for this game. The Forge will also unlock at this point, which again, I have yet to try out, so I can't much speak to it. Deep Rock Galactic also gives you the option to play completely solo, which will grant you the use of a little robot named Bosco, who can fire rockets at enemies and also mine materials for you if you're one of those classes that can't reach high spots easily. Playing solo has its own sort of appeal to it, as you're definitely feeling the pressure. If you don't complete your objective quickly and get out of there, you will get overrun by bugs, so best to stay focused. It kind of has a slight survival horror vibe going on, as being alone on these missions leaves you to question every noise you hear and jump at anything moving that isn't you. Overall, I really enjoyed my time with Deep Rock Galactic. This game went into early access in 2018 and is looking to launch 1.0 sometime in Q2 2020, which started just a few days ago. With that said, I could totally see this game launching a 1.0 soon, as what I've played feels like a well-made, content-rich indie game. I am very impressed at what this small team has put together, and I'm definitely interested to see what's in store for the future. For now, I think this game is 100% worth the asking price of $20.99 USD. The game doesn't have any microtransactions as far as I can tell. All I found was a Founders Edition for $14.99, which gives you a bunch of special cosmetics, and that's it. Otherwise, you earn everything in-game. In my opinion, Deep Rock Galactic is worth your time and money. What do you think, though? Do you play Deep Rock Galactic, or do you plan on picking it up? Let me know in the comments. Also, if you like this video, then please give it a like, as it helps more than you think. Don't forget, if you want to see more from me, then please subscribe and hit the bell and all that. Thanks for watching, everyone. Later.